I think Mercedes are definitely they know what makes a winning team, whereas McLaren are still trying to find their way. And if McLaren need to be careful to look after Lando at the same time as nurturing a very new young talent that they have coming through, which is very exciting. But there is that dynamic of Lando's wanted to win for so long. You know, I interviewed him in one of the races. We sat down upstairs. Where was it? Zandvoort? One of them. I think it was Zandvoort. And I asked him the question. I said, you know, does it still feel like you have that monkey in your back? And he was like, I think about it, but I don't think about it every single day.
Yep.
You know, and he will now. He will be thinking about it now because even though it was a sprint win, that's going to be back in the forefront of his mind.
Do you think he thinks about it because he knows people talk about it, or because it actually bothers? Because it's easy to say from the outside looking in, but he really shouldn't let it bother him because it's gonna come. Like, there's so much nuance to getting a victory in Formula One, and so much, like, you have to. I mean, there's been opportunities. Obviously, you know, Russia was a great opportunity where, in my opinion, I think the team let him down because they didn't. You know, you have to rely on your team in those instances, and I think you could see the team in that instance in Russia where their lack of almost experience fighting for a win kind of almost shone through, and I think that I felt like the whole team got flustered. That was kind of my opinion, my take on that. But like, it will come, but I just wonder where he gets that pressure from.
I mean, you tell a Formula One driver that they need to chill out before they win, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, you tell like Carlos Sainz in Singapore, actually, you know, this whole DRS train isn't working. Please step back and let Lando win. Carlos would never have done that. Charles is faster than you. Carlos would never have let him. It doesn't matter. A Formula One driver is built and only built to win.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree. I would absolutely agree with you. Lando Norris should not be thinking about that. He's an incredible talent. He's shown his skill at McLaren. He stayed loyal to them, and he will win because he just will. He's just a very good driver.
Matter of time.
Exactly. But you tell him not to think about it. I dare you. You go tell him.
Well, McLaren, if you want to invite me to the MTC and have a little chat with McLaren, I'm sure I'll be happy to accept that. Yeah, we'll take that one.
You know your teammate, he beat you. Do you think about that every single day? So I reckon you don't. Yeah, go on then.
What have you made of Oscar? Talking to McLaren, because I know you've chatted with Oscar one-to-one, and you know I've sat down with Lando and Oscar this year as well earlier, and they're just, I mean, both of them are what they come across on camera, but like, it's so impressive how just measured Oscar is. Yeah,
I remember when I got into some heat with social media, because who doesn't these days?
Shock.
I know, so shook. Because I'd said to him at the beginning of the season, I felt that every time I sat down with him or interviewed him, it felt a little bit like deer in headlights. And I was like, you're going to have to like do something to kind of come out of your shell a little bit, so we can kind of work with you and get the quotes that you want and we want. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how it works. That's how the media work. We work with the drivers. They give us what we want. You know, Fernando Alonso is a great example of someone that works the media incredibly well to his advantage. You have to, and Lance Stroll is maybe someone that doesn't work the media to his advantage. We are, as an entity, the media, powerful in helping drivers, and people that can work that out get that. So when I first interviewed, or we first sat down with Oscar, I just remember being like, he just feels like he's holding back, and slowly but surely throughout the year, and I don't know whether that's just because the car's come alive and he has something more to talk about now and things like that, he's just been coming out of his shell a little bit more. The Ashes really helped as well when we were playing the Ashes, because obviously we lost and they won, but they were playing at the time during race weekends, and so we always had that good thing. We could just joke with him about cricket before we kind of went into the car struggling this weekend. So I've seen like him kind of progress throughout the year and just come out of his shell in a really nice way, in a way that you're like, oh, there he is. Come on, out you come, like kind of coaxing him out. Come on.
That's definitely come across.
He's definitely changed. And with that, I guess, comes confidence within the race car. The race car is obviously better since the upgrades. And yeah, it's been nice. And I think that will only progress. And it's really interesting actually, because I remember because I remember someone messaging me being like, how dare you, Oscar looks like, a cat. I don't know. It's not a deer in the headlights. I don't know, whatever it was. But she got very annoyed at me and I left it because you don't feed the trolls ever. But but I thought about that and I thought, when have we seen a rookie come in that has been so measured and chilled and almost not looking like they're there for the spotlight? And that's not me saying that drivers come in and they only look for the spotlight, but most of them don't they come in with a level of confidence already, whereas Oscar just felt like he just came in and was like, I'm going to race a car and you guys are going to be there too.
Yeah.
If that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas other people are like, I'm going to race a car and I'm going to win and I'm going to get points in my first race. And he was like, I'm just going to do it and then be good.
And I think it helped his transition because there was a lot of pressure because of the whole Alpine situation, the contract situation. Of course, that was massive news, right? And him coming in and just letting the drive and do the talking. And maybe it even helps that McLaren being a bit rubbish at the start of the year. Because then all of a sudden they're both struggling to walk back. We know what Lando's capable of. They were both going out in Q1s and really struggling. And McLaren rightfully played down expectation. I remember going to the... Were you at the launch for McLaren this year? Because I was, but I don't remember.
No.
I saw you there. Because I was there at the MTC for the car launch at the start of the year. And I remember...
I was at a different launch. I think it clashed with a different one.
Yeah.
And so someone else was at McLaren and I was at... I don't know, somewhere else. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is a long time
ago.
That's back when McLaren were rubbish, because now they're flying. But even then they were playing down expectation. I think that's really kind of helped Oscar's transition because you've got that lack of pressure at the start and he's just coaxing and just...
Someone I don't think is spoken about enough in McLaren is actually their team principal. Because when Andreas Seidel left, I was like, that's a big name to leave. He's a big character. I was worried. I was worried because I was like, I get on obviously well with Seidel as well. And he's obviously at Alfa Romeo now and he's got big plans for there. But I remember when he was leaving and I was like, okay, Andreas Steller's coming in. He's an engineer. I don't really know him that well. I've seen him around the team and he hasn't got any, team principal credentials to his name. And I was like, okay, well, let's see how that goes. They obviously know what they're doing. Yeah. Seidel would, helped him into that role. So they'd obviously worked towards it together. And actually, he's one of the most calm and measured and down-to-earth, decent human beings that I think I've ever met in that paddock. He's so chatty and he's so nice. And every time he sits down, he's always like, he goes around and will say hi to everyone and make sure everyone's okay. And, oh, hello, everybody. And if they're not ready to start the interview, he'll always stop and start chatting to someone, but not chatting about gossip. He's telling you about, what he did that weekend with his family. He's very much like just a really level-headed bloke.
I remember seeing, I'm not sure if you were part of the group, but there was a group of, I think it was press, and he was showing them all the McLaren upgrades.
Yeah, he does
in the garage.
Yeah, he does.
Super detailed, way more than anyone was expecting.
I'll tell you what happens in those usually. So every Sunday morning, we get from the FIA 3 cars that have to do a tech talk with us. So that's how it just sort of goes. And I wasn't at that race. I seem to remember it might have been Japan because it's a small amount of journos go there. I think so, However, the first one we ever did, he did exactly that. He took us to the McLaren. He showed us around it. Usually the tech talk is a whole load of armpits in my face and us trying desperately to get the quote from whoever's in front of us. And I'm just like men's arms everywhere on me. That's usually what I get. So, but the point is that we're meant to go and see the car and see what's going on and see the upgrades and things. And Andrea will always go in and be like, do you want to see the car? Do you want to come in? If it's a bigger group, it's harder because obviously it's a garage that they're working on. But if it's a smaller group, he'll always be like, do you want to come in? And he'll point it and he just goes through everything. And you're like, you learn everything. Every time I speak to him, I've learned something new.
Yeah.
And he's also one of those team principals that actually, if you asked a silly question, or what I might perceive as a silly question, he'll just be like, oh, no, that's fine. I'll just explain it.
Yeah.
And there's not many people in that paddock that you can admit that you don't know something and that you're okay to ask it. Yeah. There's not many of those because usually you're like, I know everything, obviously. Obviously.
And the thing is, he's not been a team principal for long. This is his first, but he's been in the game for a long time. He was back at Ferrari giving Fernando was it Fernando 2010? And he was the one on the radio. To Fernando.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he didn't quite win the title.
Yeah.
So he's been around for a while, Stella. But and Val's as well. We've got 2 first-time team principals this year that have made steps, and they are risks because you're not taking on. But it just goes to show, and I think James comes across I mean, Andrea comes across very well, but James really seems to like, he's made a lot of fans, I think, amongst the community.
James, I think, has taken so much from what Toto Wolff does, which is, again, being an incredible people person. A lot of people, I think, or lots of ways that Formula One used to work, and this is, going back to your first question, how much have you seen that's changed? What we talk about now is, driver mental health. We talk about, the how difficult this is just in general for everybody to be traveling around the world for 22 races, being away from their family, 24 races next year. Do you need people like people persons? Sometimes you just need that.
Definitely.
And what someone like Toto Wolff and obviously Toto Wolff not being an engineer, but someone like Andrea Stella brings is that he has the knowledge, but he also knows how to look after his drivers. And he's got two very young drivers there. One of them who has spoken out quite a lot about, mental health and things like that. And you've got a very young man in Oscar. So he's managing them incredibly well.
It's a huge responsibility.
Huge. It's their early 20s, and you've got to look up, because that's a very impressionable age. Got to keep them grounded. You've got to keep them level-headed, and you've got to keep them strong to be racing drivers.